Most people don't fail because they lack effort. They fail because they misunderstand time. They assume progress should respond to attention, that if something matters, it should react when touched. If nothing is happening on the surface, they conclude nothing is happening at all. That assumption drives more collapse than incompetence ever could. This video isn't about motivation, it's not about strategy, and it's not about doing more. It's about the quiet mechanisms that prevent outcomes from forming, even when effort is present. What follows isn't a list of ideas, it's a sequence of constraints. Each one explains how progress quietly collapses long before anyone notices. There is a phase every meaningful outcome passes through. It's the phase people misread most often. Nothing is visibly improving, no feedback arrives, no reassurance appears. From the outside, it looks inactive. From the inside, it feels irresponsible. This is not failure, this is formation. But most people don't tolerate formation without confirmation. They check, they adjust, they intervene, not because something is broken, but because silence creates discomfort. The silent phase is what happens. Latency blindness is how people misinterpret it. Human beings are especially poor at interpreting delay. We read silence as absence. We read lag as rejection. We read waiting as wasted time. But many valuable outcomes are delayed by design. The input has already happened. The result simply hasn't surfaced yet. This creates latency blindness, the inability to trust processes that don't immediately respond to attention. You recognize this when a meeting ends, tasks are assigned, and nothing visibly changes for days. The work is moving, but because it isn't visible, people assume it's stuck. When latency blindness takes over, interference begins, and interference resets the clock. Every time you touch an outcome that hasn't finished forming, you pull it back into evaluation, back into scrutiny, back into fragility. Nothing compounds while it is being corrected. This is why so many projects remain permanently in progress, not because they lack potential, but because they are never allowed to stabilize long enough to mature. Interference always feels responsible in the moment, but responsibility is not the same as wisdom. Complex outcomes do not unfold like machines. They unfold like ecosystems. They organize themselves if left alone long enough. This is known as Emergent Order, intelligence that appears without central control. But Emergent Order collapses under supervision. This shows up when a team works smoothly before too many check-ins are added. Once every step needs approval, momentum slows, not because people are weaker, but because the system can no longer organize itself. Some intelligence only appears when conscious control steps back. There is another misunderstanding that destroys outcomes early. People try to refine things before they stabilize. They polish, they optimize, they improve. This feels intelligent, it feels high standard. But refinement before stability locks weaknesses into place. This is premature optimization, and it quietly kills more long-term success than outright failure ever could. The wealthy and anyone who understands compounding allow things to become solid before they become impressive. Optimization isn't the only form of premature action. There is also the cost of premature attention. There is a cost to visibility most people never calculate. Exposure creates obligation. Once something is visible, it must explain itself. Once it is discussed, it must justify its pace. Once it is observed, it is pressured to perform. Expose an outcome too early, and you create exposure debt. You see this when early ideas are shared too widely. Before they're ready, they attract opinions, revisions, and expectations. And suddenly, the work has to justify itself before it's finished. The wealthy, not by status, but by response to constraint, delay exposure to protect formation. Speed feels like advantage, but early speed creates late fragility. Fast beginnings require constant rescue. Slow beginnings often become self-supporting. This is temporal inversion. What you rush early, you pay for later. What you allow early, time multiplies. The long game is not patience. Patience implies resisting action. The long game is action completed and then deliberately left alone. There is a quiet intelligence that operates only in the background. It doesn't appear when you are watching. It doesn't respond to pressure. It doesn't accelerate because you want results. It works when attention recedes, when interference stops. It's visible in moments where clarity arrives after stepping away from a problem, not during the meeting, but later when attention has moved on. This is why silence matters, not as power, not as strategy, but as a condition. The long game doesn't fail because people don't try hard enough. It fails because they interfere too soon, react too fast, and demand results before the system can support them. This is the time syntax, the hidden structure beneath compounding. Formation requires silence. Interference resets the clock. Order emerges when control withdraws. Once interference stops, a different question appears. Not why things fail, but how durable systems are designed. Compounding doesn't begin with action. It begins when interruption ends.